Okay class, with this particular video we're going to work our way through a Year 10 trig problem trying to find the side of a triangle, and to do this we're going to use a 5-step process that I like to use when solving problems using trigonometry. So the first step we're going to use is trying to find the active angle, and we can see here on the triangle that the active angle is equal to 48 degrees, and we need this because it helps us with the next steps to determining how we're going to work out this problem. The second step in this problem is where we label a triangle, and this is really important because again how we label the triangle will affect everything we do after further on down the track. So in this case here we've got three options for labeling the triangle. We've got H for the hypotenuse, O for the opposite side, and A for the adjacent. Now the hypotenuse is the one I usually choose first. It's always opposite the right angle. That's the longest side of the triangle, and that's called the hypotenuse, so we label that with H. The next side that we can label is the O side, and that's opposite the active angle, so that's why I've labelled this with an O. And the third side we can label with an A, which means adjacent, which means next to the active angle. So there we've labelled all three sides, A, H and O, and from this we can move on to the third step, which is where we use the mnemonic SOHCAHTOA. And what we need to do here is this determines which function we're going to be using. So we write out SOHCAHTOA like I've done here. Whoops, made a little mistake. SOHCAHTOA, and we write that out, and what we're going to do is we're going to determine what sides we need, and that will determine which function. So so we're basically going to say, okay, we've noticed on this particular triangle that we're using, so yeah, we're going to tick what we're using. So we're using the hypotenuse, so we tick both the H's, and because we're looking for X, which is on the opposite side, we tick both the O's. And we're looking for the function SOHCAHTOA where there are two ticks, and you'll notice here that we're using the sine, and that's the function we're going to use to actually work out this problem. The fourth step is where we use a ratio triangle, and we use this to substitute the various values into a ratio triangle from which we can work out the problem. Oops, it's a bit of a slightly wonky triangle, but here it is, and we're going to put the values into this ratio triangle. And what I do is I usually label around the outside S, O and H in this case because it's a SO. I'd do the same if it was cosine, I put CAH, etc. Now the opposite side is X, because that's the side we're looking for. The hypotenuse is 26 meters, so I've put that in there. And the S is for the angle, and because we're doing S, it's the sine of 48 degrees. And from this we can move on to the fifth and final step, which is actually showing the working and giving the answer. And so we'll move on to that now. So what your first thing you do is you look at, what am I trying to find? I'm trying to find X, so I'm going to put X equals, and that's really important part of the working, because if you don't do that then we don't know what you're looking for, and you need to put that in there. So X equals, and if we were to cover up the X with our finger or something like that, we'd be left with the two values along the bottom, sine of 48 and 26, and because both those values are along the bottom, we multiply. So this becomes sine of 48 times 26. And we put that in our calculator, and on the next line we put X equals what sine of 48 times 26, and that comes out at 19.32, and this is in meters, and if you'd done it on the calculator it wasn't exactly 19.32, so therefore we put it, we just round it to 2 decimal places.